Good morning, students. Now, children, we are going to start with your Science and Technology Part 2, Chapter number 9, Environmental Management. Okay? How is the weather today? Do you have any answer? Whether it is hot, whether it is humid, whether it's rainy, whether it's cloudy. Okay? And then, what is the climate of Mumbai? What is the climate of Gangtok? What is the climate of Kashmir? Yes? Anything difference? Can you find any difference between these sentences? Okay? So if no, then your answers you'll be getting in the upcoming videos. Now see children, weather. Weather depends upon the prevailing conditions of the air. Means currently what are the air conditions? The weather is indication of those conditions. And whereas what is the climate? The climate of a particular region is the average of daily readings of various weather related parameters recorded for several years. So the climate is not daily reading, it is the recorded parameters or the data you are having for several years. That data is known as a climate. Now climate of Mumbai is different. Even the climate of Nagpur is different if you consider it Maharashtra also. Okay, and again if you go near to Maharashtra, if you go towards the Gujarat side, or here towards, if you will go towards Karnataka side, again you will find the difference in the climatic conditions. So climate is the recorded parameters for several years. Hence, climate is a long predominant condition of the atmosphere. These are the certain factors, children, which are related to weather or climate. Example, atmospheric pressure, sunlight, clouds, humidity, rainfall, visibility and temperature. These are the important major parameters which decide the climatic factors or weather related parameters of any region. Now changes in weather. How does the weather change? Now suppose we stay in Mumbai, okay, and Badlapur, if you think, will you ever expect that in this 20 December or December 2020 you will be getting a snowfall and predominant snowfall or very nice snow you will be having outside your home and you will be able to play in that snow? Can you expect this? Never. Okay, so why it is not expected? Because climate does not changes continuously. It takes a lots of time for climate to change. And climate is that which remain constant in a region for a long duration. Thus, we see that weather is related to specific location and specific time, whereas climate is related to longer duration and the larger area. Then, changes in weather may occur for short period of time, whereas changes in climates take place slowly over much long duration. Okay, so weather changes very frequently. Okay, see, sometimes even you observe, in Badlapur also, morning it is raining, afternoon again you get a sunshine, evening it may again rain. That is a particular climate. Okay, that is the particular weather of Badlapur, but climate rarely change. Okay, climate plays very important role in our day-to-day life. It influences our basic needs like food, clothing and shelter, as well as our occupation. So it is very true, children. See, suppose we will never expect to that we are wearing the winter coat, wind cheaters now. Can we expect to wear? No. And suppose if you go for this year, okay, due to COVID, most of everyone's holidays are spoiled. But if we plan to go somewhere near Kashmir, somewhere in the Himalayas, can we wear the clothing which we are wearing here? Not at all. We will fall sick. We will catch cough, cold, flu and will be falling sick. So climate decides the food, clothing, shelter as well as occupation of the people. And even the various climatic factors like direction of the wind speed, temperature, atmospheric pressure, etc. are considered during construction of runways, seaports, huge bridges and skyscrapers. Obviously, none of the people will try to build a skyscraper where the soil is not very strong. Okay, you are seaports, you will be constructing seaports only where the area sea is there. Okay, in near river you cannot think of constructing such ports. So climate decides the various large wide of aspects of human beings day to day life. Okay children, remaining we will be looking into the next video. So children, now we will be continuing with the next part of your chapter 9, environmental management. Now what is the importance of weather in the living world? Okay, so daily weather as also long term climatic condition influence human lifestyle directly or indirectly. Land, water bodies, plants and animals collectively from the natural environment on the earth. The environment is responsible for the development of the organism. So weather decides the everything, daily weather and long condition influence the lifestyle which we live, the land, the water in your place, the plants you will be getting, the animals you will be finding near your area. It is all decided by the climatic condition as well as weather. Then the climate of a particular region helps to determine the diet, clothing, housing, occupation and lifestyle of the people. Example, the people living in Kashmir are having different lifestyle. People living in Rajasthan are having different lifestyle. It is something very common, Salinity of marine water, formation of ocean currents, water cycle, all are related to various climatic conditions and various weather conditions. Okay, so even now see, the water of a sea is saline, whereas river water is not saline. This is all due to the weather and climatic conditions. And various climatic factors bring about the weathering of rocks in the earth's crust. That you have studied in geography. Okay, in lower classes you have studied the weathering procedures, how rocks get deformed and how rocks break into the from the earth's crust, and even many times these rocks degenerated into fine particles and we get the sand and soil which we are having nowadays. Then children, climate also plays important role in formation of the enrichment of the soil. If the climate is good, supportive for the development of the good soil, then in the good climate only you will be having a good agriculture, because that good climate is supporting the good soil. It is enhancing the development of a good soil, enrichment of a soil. And next, very important, that the microbes in the soil, this we have studied in your previous chapter, useful and harmful microbes. So microbes in the soil also play important role in formation of organic materials, and this process depends upon various climatic conditions. So here children, in this video we have studied certain importance about the climatic conditions. Okay children, remaining we will be looking into the next lecture. Good morning students, hope you all are doing fine. Children, today we are going to proceed towards the next part of your science and technology, part 2. We are going to study about the environmental management. Now here in this section we are going to study about meteorology. Okay, so what do you understand by the concept of the meteorology? Now meteorology is nothing but it is the science that studies the interrelationships between various cycles, various components of air, geological movement and climate. That study is nothing but it is called as a meteorology. So meteorology includes the study of storms, clouds, rainfall, thunder, lightning, etc. Depending upon the study of such factors, weather forecast is made. So you watch the weather news every day, or most of the time we watch the weather predictions are there. So they are predicting about the weather of that particular place. And weather and climate concept we have already understood in our previous videos. So whatever the weather predictions are there, these are made with the help of the study of the meteorological parameters. So these are helpful to whom, for why we are studying the weather, what is the need to study the weather. Now we have to understand and focus this concept. So weather is useful for common people, for farmers. Now once the farmer will understand what type of crop he will be getting this year depending upon the predictions of the weather. So it is useful to farmers also. It is useful to fisheries, the fishermen who go for fishing, it is useful for them also. For aviation means the industries which is related to, you know, aviation industries, aircraft industries. Okay, even the aircraft, if it weather is not suitable, aircraft we are delaying. Okay, flights are delayed. If the people in charge sitting the and looking about the weather, if they find the weather is not suitable, so air flights are dismissed. Okay, so it is even useful for the aviation industries people also, water transport and various organizations. Okay, then the institutes at work. The World Meteorological Organization was established by United Nations organizations on 23rd March 1950. This organization plays important role in food security, water management, transport and communication. Okay, so this is the World Meteorological Organization, which looks towards the important areas that are food security, water management, transportation and communication. Remaining we will be looking into the next videos. Welcome back, students. Now we are going to study about the concept of the India Meteorological Department. Okay, so India Meteorological Department was founded by the British in the year 1875 in Shimla. Its head office is at Pune and its regional offices are Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Nagpur and Delhi. Now, what are the works, or what are the, you can say, things, or what are the duties of the IMD department? Now we are going to focus on that concept. Maps are prepared every day which indicate the daily predictions about the weather. So every day the maps are prepared which indicate about the predictions of the weather. Second thing, such maps are published twice in every 24 hours. So within 24 hours only such maps are published twice in a day. Then this in the institute, research goes on continuously on various aspects like instruments for the climate readings, prediction about the climate made using radar, prediction about the climate related to seismology, predictions regarding the rainfall by satellite, air pollution and etc. The research is going in these areas in the IMD department. The Indian Meteorological, IMD means it's short form for the Indian Meteorological Department. The Indian Meteorological Department provides information regarding weather and climatic conditions. For this purpose, India has launched several satellites equipped with the high-class technology. So now you are aware that we are even making a great leap in the space also. So we are sending the spacecraft, we are sending the satellites. Those satellites and spacecraft are responsible for providing us the information related to the different climatic conditions. Children, remaining information we will be continuing into the next videos. Welcome back, students. Now we are going to proceed towards the next part of your science and technology part 2, chapter 9, environmental management. Now here we are going to study about the models. Okay, so monsoon model and climate prediction. How the monsoon model and climate prediction helps us to understand our environment and surrounding properly. So the tradition of forecasting the monsoon season in India is older than 100 years. Okay, so more than 100 years we are studying the prediction models of the monsoon. In the year 1877, after the famine, okay, means there was scarcity of water and there was famine everywhere, H.F. Blanford, the founder of IMD, had made such predictions. Now children, he had made the predictions, but for the first time, it was for the first time that snowfall in the Himalayan regions were taken into account, and considering that snowfall, the predictions were made and the parameters for these predictions were made. Now, in the decade of 1930s, then the director of the Indian IMD, that is Indian Meteorological Department, Sir Gilbert Walker, had underlined relationship between various climatic factors and the Indian monsoon. And based on the available observations and previous recording related to this relationship, he put a hypothesis regarding the nature of the monsoon. So from the year 1930s, we have started studying regarding the different climatic conditions and the parameters regarding the Indian monsoon and how they are affecting the climate in the India, the rainfall in the India. All these things are studied under such headings. Now, so Dr. Vasantrao Gowarikar, okay, he was the person who has taken the initiative in the 1990s, and he made monsoon based model using 16 worldwide climatic parameters. Okay, so Dr. Vasantrao Gowarikar made the climate prediction model, okay, monsoon prediction model of India using 16 different worldwide parameters. We have used this model from 1990 till the year 2002. Okay, from 1919, approximately 12 years, the rainfall predictions, whatever predictions were made, they were made on this model suggested by Dr. Vasantrao Gowarikar. Now, after 2002, what happened? Now we are focusing on the models which are being developed at the IITM. Okay, so now presently the models which we are studying, it is based on the predictions made by the IITM department. The work is progress at two levels, namely designing new models and developing new technology. So now, since you know the world is becoming shorter and the knowledge is becoming broader, so now we are having the advanced technologies in which the designing of the models and developing new technologies are done to study the climatic condition and weather functions. Okay, the main focus is on developing the radar system and satellite technology. So as I said previously only, that we Indians are now entering into the age of the space. Okay, so here we are totally developing a technology which can keep us updated with the help of the radars and the satellite communication. So children, here we have reached the end of the videos. Remaining we will be looking into the next videos. Welcome back students. Now we will be studying about the different models which are used for predicting the weather. Okay, so first model is mathematical model, also known as the dynamic model. Now forecasts in the mathematical model are made with the help of mathematical models which take into account the estimates of current weather related events and ongoing physical interactions between them. Okay, so here data about the current climatic parameter is mathematically analyzed with the help of the Param supercomputer. So mathematical model mostly uses or takes into account the mathematical data, and then it is analyzing with the help of the supercomputers. Okay, various mathematical models based upon daily geographic events are developed by supercomputer technology. As mentioned earlier, I have told that IITM is working for that. Many research institutes in India are working on the data for getting the accurate technology for utilizations of the different models. Then the holistic model. Now holistic models, in the holistic models, predictions are based upon the parameters used in the models which have greatest effect on the monsoon. Okay, so here now the parameters which are making more effect on the monsoon, those parameters are taken into consideration. Nowadays prediction declared by IMD are the collective outcome of various models. This is called a holistic model. So what is in holistic models? The different models are taking the consideration of the predictions of the different models, and on basis of them they are making an outcome, and this is known as a holistic model. After this we are having the next model, that is the statistical model. Now what are the informations or how are the procedures of the statistical model? So in the statistical model, current climatic observations in a region are compared with the earlier parameters such as oceanic temperature, atmospheric pressure and the nature of monsoon in several years. Then this data is completely analyzed by the statistical methods and predictions are made about the monsoon in the present conditions. So utilizing the previous data for many years and then comparing it with the current situation and just going through the current situation, the predictions are made, and such predictions or such method of using the data, analyzing the data, is known as a statistical model. Children, here we are ending this video. Now we will be looking towards the next section in the upcoming videos. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Good morning, students. Hope you all are doing fine. Children, now we will be proceeding towards the next concept, and today we are going to study the concept of solid waste management. What is the solid waste management and how it is known as the need of the hour? Okay, so in this videos I am going to show you certain pictures, okay, and just you have to observe the pictures. It will be more self-understanding, it will be more self-explanatory rather than your teacher is going to teach you. Okay, so here are certain pictures, you just observe it and discuss. So okay, this diagram is there in your textbook also. So what are you able to see in this diagram? What are you exactly able to see? Which products are given there and what can be done with this project? Okay, so this is, if you look properly, you will come to know this is a garbage collected in a dustbin. Maybe some of the products were easily available at your home also. Okay, then what can you do with this? What is the importance to manage these products properly? What will happen if these products are not managed properly? Okay, and these are the products. Can they managed, or are they able to be managed same way in the which manner your household products are managed? Now these are something which you can see in your society, in your complex. Okay, the bottles of cokes, glass bottles, plastic bottles, these are the many things which we observe. So just have a look over it, think it properly, and then yes, we will be discussing. If you look it towards properly, you will come to know that the waste which is generated in your home. Now what kind of waste you will be getting in your home? In your home you will be getting the waste from the kitchen. Okay, major will be the kitchen. Then the next pass you will be getting from your study room or your study table, where you will be having the lots of rough pages, rough books or pages which are not in use. Okay, then other type of the wastes can be in your house, the waste which are coming from the cleaning processes. Okay, when you are brooming the home, when you are cleaning the home, that time which waste generates. So obviously the wastes are different from the different sources. Okay, now so one Modi ji has started one campaign, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but I know everyone is aware of it. Okay, you all are very well aware with the concept which we are following. We should go for a clean city, green city. Now imagine Badlapur like this. What will come in your mind? Such a clean, no? You nicely like to sit over here, and suppose if anyone who wants to go for a job, okay, they will be nicely standing here in a line, and it बहुत अच्छा लगेगा. The day will be started very nicely. Okay, you want your city to be like this? I don't know how many of you, but my answer is I know none of you will like to have your city like this. And see this picture. What is this? Who has done this mess? Okay, we know, even we say animals are much more better than the human beings. This is which most people say this is the waste which is thrown, which is discarded by the human beings only, and we ourselves have made our cities very dirty. And see the next picture. So now children, till now I hope your concept will be very much clear. So we are going to study about the solid waste which is just discarded without managing it properly, and these two figures you can compare, no? Area with garbage versus area which is clean. Okay, so obviously we all will love to have the clean area, but it won't be clean on its own. We have to take efforts to make it clean. So now we will just have a look on certain facts. Garbage collect production per day. So in the different cities, the garbage collection is how much is generated. In Mumbai, 5,000 tons. Pune 1700 tons, and Nagpur 900 tons. This much tons garbage is generated per day in some of the major cities in Maharashtra. And we all remember the havoc 26 July 2005 when the Mumbai was seriously flooded and the calamity has arisen in the Mumbai. After the flood, water came down, and like little bit when the life was little bit on the way to get to the like regular life, people came to know that the improper solid waste management was one of the main reasons behind that calamity. Because in Mumbai the solid waste was not managed properly, the waste was dumped anywhere, and along with that garbage, along with that water, that garbage flew throughout, it went through the cities, and we all know what happened. Okay, so you all might be very small during that time, but if you want, you can refer internet, you can refer the newses, you will be able to know what happened that day. Okay, so remaining things, students, we will be looking into the next video more about the solid waste management. So students, now we will be again continuing with our next topic about the sources of the solid waste. Okay, see, now this is the table, it is given in your textbook also, you can refer from there also. So here are the certain sources and certain waste are there, and then how we are classified. Okay, so how we have done the classification of the waste. Now if you see the domestic waste, the waste which you generally see in your home, that is which type of products are there in the domestic waste? That is the waste from the food, paper, plastic bags, vegetables waste, fruit skins, glasses, sheet of metals, okay, and articles. These are the wastes which are generated from the home or domestic waste. Then the next are the industrial waste. Industrial waste, which are the sources of industrial waste? Different types of chemicals, the pigments, the sludge, ash, metals which are used in the industries. Then hazardous waste. Now hazardous waste is a very dangerous waste. Okay, so mostly the radioactive materials, explosives and infectious materials are coming under the category of the hazardous waste. After hazardous waste, we have the next category, that is the garden waste or the farm waste. So now in the garden waste and the farm waste, you will be able to have different types of leaves, flowers, branches of the trees, crop residues like straw, animal urine and dung, pesticides, remain of various chemicals and fertilizers. Then the next is the electronic waste. Electronic waste, nowadays the electronic waste is increasing. Okay, and due to this COVID, now many of the people are what they have done. Okay, now this mobile is not working, it is old, so I need a new thing. Okay, so this things have electronic waste is every time when we change our handsets, we change our laptops, we change our tab, so that is more and more increasing nowadays. So which things will come in the electronic waste? Non-functional TV sets, cell phones, music systems, computers and their parts. This will come under the category of the electronic waste. After that, we are having the biomedical waste. So with the waste which is generated from the hospitals. Examples: bandages, dressings, gloves, needles, saline bottles, medicine bottles, test tubes, body parts, blood, etc. from the clinics, hospital and blood banks and laboratories comes under the biomedical waste. Then we are having the next category, that is about the urban waste. So waste generated through household industries and large commercial and industrial establishments, carry bags, glass, metal pieces and rods, threads, rubber, paper, cans from the shop, vegetable and meat markets, construction waste. These all wastes come under the urban waste category. So whatever the waste generated in a city, you can in short understand, now in city if you will go, you will be able to find the construction waste also, because constructions are going on different places. Okay, so you'll be able to find cans from the shop, vegetable and meat market waste. So different it is a large variety of waste. In short, you can understand. Then the radioactive waste. Okay, so now the radioactive waste is also one of the waste which needs to be handled very properly. If there is any leakage, any mishandling in this type of waste, it is surely going to cause a great havoc in that area. So radioactive material like strontium 10, cerium 141, barium 140 and heavy water generated from the atomic energy plants, uranium mines, atomic research center, nuclear weapon testing sites, these all are the sources of the generation of the radioactive wastes. And then next we are having the mining waste. So mining waste mostly comes under the category like when heavy metals like lead, arsenic, cadmium, when they are coming from the mine. Okay, this comes under the category of the mining waste. Then we are having types of solid waste, students. Biodegradable waste is the first type. This type is waste which is easily degraded by the microbes. Microbes you have studied in your previous chapter, harmful and useful microbes. So the waste which can be easily degraded by microbes are the biodegradable waste. It includes the kitchen waste, spoiled food, fruits, vegetables, ash, soil, dung, parts of the plants and etc. And this waste is mainly organic type and is also called wet solid waste or wet garbage. So if it is carefully decomposed, if it is properly managed and decomposed, we can get compost and fuel of good quality from it. So biofuel projects have been started in many cities based on the biodegradable waste. Then we are having the non-biodegradable waste. It does not degrades easily. It takes a long time to degrade, and it includes whatever the plastics are there, metals are there, and similar components which thermocols you have studied in 8th standard also. So many such products which do not degrade through the biological process are non-biodegradable products. These are also called as dry solid waste or dry garbage. So children, remaining we will be looking into the next videos. Good morning students. Hope you all are doing fine today. Now children, today we will be studying about the concept about the necessity of solid waste management. Why it is important to manage the solid waste. What will happen? Okay, what are the benefits of managing your solid waste? First is to prevent the environmental pollution and to keep our surroundings clean. Then second is for energy as well as fertilizer production, and through that we generate work and employment opportunities. So we are getting energy also, we are getting fertilizer also with the help of the solid waste management. If you are properly we are managing the biodegradable waste, then we will be getting fertilizer also, and that fertilizer is going to give you organic cropping. You will be having chemical free whatever vegetables and fruits and grains which we are growing. So that will be helpful to us in the many ways. Then next is to reduce the strain on natural resources through the treatment of solid waste. Then it also improves the health and quality of the life, and it also maintains the environmental balance. Then see children, these are the certain effects, okay, which are the certain effects of the solid waste, harmful effects. So it is affecting the biodiversity, the place where the waste is not managed properly, bad odor is coming. Then the next is we are having toxic gases generation, natural beauty of that area is degraded. It is also causing air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, and it spreads the diseases. Various diseases are also spread due to the harmful effect of the solid waste. So how can we manage it? How can we keep it properly? So there are different ways of managing the solid waste. So first of all, you have to segregate and categorize the waste. Segregation and categorizations. First off, you have to segregate. whether it is biodegradable, non-biodegradable, whether it is hazardous, okay, whether it is the industrial waste. So depending upon the different categories which we have looked into our previous videos, you have to categorize the waste. Then how you can scientifically manage it? You can go for a composting, safe landfill sites. You can go for vermicomposting. So industrial solid waste management can be done through the landfill method. Then pyrolysis means what? Energy production by burning of the waste at high temperature. So this is done, like if example, in biogas and bioelectricity. And then you have to manage the biomedical waste completely through the incineration. Incineration means through the burning. Okay, you have to manage the biomedical waste through the process of the incineration, that is burning. So children, here we have studied about the solid waste management, harmful effect, and the need of managing the solid waste. Remaining we will be going to study in our next videos. Good morning, students. Now we will be studying about the 7 principles of solid waste management. Which are the 7 principles of solid waste management? First is reuse. After use, materials should be reused for some another purpose. Okay, so once the anything is there, if suppose you are having a, many times we get when we go for an online shopping, we get many products which are wrapped nicely in the cardboard, and then we are getting it. So that cardboard you can go for another decorative way. Okay, many times people nowadays they are trying to replace the cardboard instead of thermocol. So this is the reuse, when you are using same substance, okay, but for another purpose. Then refuse. So we should decide, I am not going to use any substance which is made from non-degradable articles like plastic and thermocol. In last year when you were in 8th standard, we have studied the hazardous effects of the thermocol. Okay, so same thing here, you have to decide that you should not use any substance which is made from plastic and thermocol. Then recycle, like we are recycling paper, we are recycling glass, so you should go for recycling of these products. Then we have to develop the habit of rethink. Rethink means what? We should have the activities and connections whenever we are using our any product in a daily life. We should develop the habit. Is it, I am using this product, is it really useful? What are the side effects? What are the consequences? That all you have to keep in mind, and then only use any substance. Then reduce. Reduce means what? Restrict the use of resources to avoid their waste. Restrict the use of resource means use only limited. As much as it is required, that much only you used. All materials should be reused. One thing should be shared by many if it is possible. And use and throw objects, like which we are mostly nowadays having use and throw plates, use and throw cups, even we are having use and throw pens. Okay, so that should be avoided as possible. As much as possible, go for such type of pens in which you can fill the refill and again use it, children. This is how you can reduce the solid waste problem. Then research. We should try to conduct the research related to the reuse of materials that are temporarily out of use. How to reuse the substances which currently we are not using. For that you can go for a research. And then regulation and public awareness. You should follow the rules, strictly follow the rules which are related to waste management, and we should motivate others for doing the same. In this way, these are the 7 principles of the solid waste management. Good morning, students. Hope you all are fine. Children, today we are going to study about the next concept related to the solid waste management. Today we are going to study about the period required for degradation of the waste. Now see, if you are just looking towards this there are the name of the waste materials, and in next place the column is given. It is given about the how much time duration do they require for the generation of or for the degradation. So banana peelings, it requires 3 to 4 weeks. Cloth bags, 1 month. Rags, they require approximately time which is near about 5 months. Woolen socks, okay, woolen socks requires approximately time of 1 year. Then now see children, here the time, if you will be looking, you'll come to know that wood, it requires 10 to 15 years, okay. So you'll be able to see that wood requires approximately 10 to 15 years. Then after that you are having leather shoes, it requires approximately 40 to 50 years when we want to degrade it naturally, okay. This is the time duration, students, okay. So tin cans, not tin cans, no, mostly we are having cold drinks in that type of cans, if you can recall. Coke, Mirinda, Fanta, these things are coming in the tin cans, no. So it requires 50 to 100 years. Aluminium cans requires 200 to 250 years. Now certain plastic bag, now just see children, the time duration. It will, see, we will not be alive also. It will approximately going to take 10 lakh years. Means now see, today the way we are using the waste, we are generating the waste. Just imagine how many generations are going to suffer. Yeah, one plastic bag may require approximately 10 lakh years. And the thermocol or styrofoam cups, they require infinite duration. Infinite means infinite. So these are the things. Now this is the data which we have shared, that as much as possible we have to focus not to use these products, because if you see the time they require for using or degrading in the nature, how much it is long, okay. So then what should be done? We have to now manage our solid waste properly, and we should manage the waste in such a way. Now look at this diagram, okay. See, here you are able to see two different dustbins, dry waste and wet waste, okay, in this figure. So it shows the method of storing the waste, okay. This diagram shows the method of storing the waste, and then if you look at the next diagram, okay, it shows the use of specific dustbins as per the type of the waste, okay. So we should think about how eco-friendly waste can be achieved by following these methods in our homes too. So if you want to go for an eco-friendly waste management, so you can just try to separate. See, you can separate dry waste in a different dustbin, wet waste in a different, paper in a different, glasses which can be recycled in a different, plastic is also recycled, and metals are also recycled. So if we apply these methods for segregating or separating the waste, it is really definitely going to help us lot to keep the solid waste in a less quantity in our area, or to reduce the solid waste in your area. So children, this was regarding how to manage the solid waste and the degradation time. So children, please read the textbook, go through the lesson, so it will be helpful and beneficial for you to understand the concept more properly. Stay home, students. Take care. Good morning, students. Children, today we will be studying about the disaster management, which is a very highlighted concept in the news, especially when you watch the news. There are many different types of disaster which we study, which we look into the news, but many times what happens now, that we are not aware what are the reasons. And then second most important thing, many times students, we don't even know that how to control the disaster, or after disaster what are the problems, how to overcome those problems, how to save lives of the people. So now in this section we are going to study about the disasters, and then some we can get measures which we have to adopt after the disaster takes place. So there are various natural disasters like thunderbolts, that is lightning, floods, fire. And then again there are different man-made disasters like accidents, bomb explosions, chemical accidents in industries, stampedes and mass gathering, riots, etc. These occur around us from time to time. So children, what happens due to disaster? It causes large scale damage to the life and property. People and the properties of the people, big buildings, shops, malls, everything is affected very drastically due to the disaster. Now, for controlling this, for prevention, we are having a disaster management action. Okay, so what is the disaster management action doing? It is implementing the proper planning, organized activity and coordination to control the measures and to reduce the impact of the disaster on the life of the people. So disaster management action, it is having certain, you can say, concepts, or it is having certain measures what have to be done if the disaster is taken place. So what does it do? First of all, it prevents the loss and danger. Okay, we can prevent, we can save people's life, we can save the danger. First thing, we can improve the tolerance. Second point, then it provides relief from disaster, minimize the intensity and extent of the harm. Then fourth thing, it is preparation to face the disaster. Suppose many times we are aware that a flood is going to come. Okay, so and so area will be flooded. So prevention and preparation for the disaster. So what can be prevention and precaution for these people? See, government is organizing to shift these people into safer place. The people, those who are living near the area, near the river banks, they are with special boats, with special, you can say, helicopter airlifting. These people are shifted towards a safer place. Okay, so that is how we are preparing to face the disaster. Then immediate after the disastrous situation, immediate action. Now what have to be taken? Suppose if an earthquake has happened, immediately what should be the next action plan? Then sixth point is, it is assessing the damages and intensity of the disaster. How much disaster is there and what is the intensity? Then arranging for rescue work can help. So who are the people? NDRF team, National Disaster Relief Fund, okay, force, that team, it is coming. Local peoples are there, many NGOs are there which at local level come to help the people. So these are the certain things which the disaster action plan contains. And then rehabilitation and rebuilding. Now rehabilitation and rebuilding means what? Once the people, they have disaster has gone, suppose in the after flood, within 1 or 2 days, if the flood water is rescued or low at the certain area, then people again rehabilitate how to build their home. Many people are homeless, they lose their home. In this situation, what has to be done? This all comes under the disaster action plan. Okay children, remaining we will be looking into the upcoming videos. Students, now we will be studying about the basic principles of first aid. Now after disastrous situation, many times we see that people, they have got injured, they have suffered different injuries. Okay, many people, they get faint, and different types of problems occur in different people. So now in this situation, since we are educated, now we are in 9th standard, at least we are a little bit aware. We should be aware to understand how to cure or how to reduce the harmful effect of that effect, whatever has happened to the person. So for this, it is very important for you all to understand the basic principles of first aid. So first we are having the life and rescue situation, that is ABC technique. A, first technique, what? If the victim is having difficulty in breathing, the head should be held in backward sloping position or the chin should be raised so the respiratory passage remains open. If you see any person who is having difficulty in breathing, in that situation you should raise the chin up and head should be back so the respiratory passage of that person gets open. Okay, then After that, students, we have to go for the artificial breathing. Okay, now if the breathing has been stopped of the person, the artificial ventilation or artificial breathing has to be given by mouth to mouth. Okay, so from mouth to mouth resuscitation, you have to give the person the artificial breathing. Children, it is very important and you should know now, since you are in 9th grade, if any such situation occurs near you, so now you should be able to at least react what you should be doing in such situation. Then third, circulation. If the victim is totally unconscious, then after giving mouth to mouth respiration twice, the heart should be pressed, okay, down hard by pressing the chest with both the palms. Okay, so the heart should be pressed with both the palms near the chest, so the person will be getting blood circulation enhanced. Now what should be done? These two action, artificial breathing and then circulation, these two action has to be repeated alternately about 15 minutes. Okay, so this is called some CPR technique, that is cardiopulmonary resuscitation technique, and it also helps to bring the circulation back to the normal. So this is certain type of first aid which should be done if there is a person is suffering difficulty in breathing. Then after this, we will be studying the different types of the first aid, different types of the techniques in the upcoming videos. Students, as we are continuing towards the disaster management, now we are going to look certain other types of first aid techniques which can be adopted as per the situation. If you see the victim is bleeding, okay, if the person is bleeding, if any person has met an accident unfortunately or fallen in front of you, means anything has happened and the person is bleeding, in that condition what you should do, if the victim is injured and bleeding through the wound should be covered with an antiseptic pad and pressure should be applied for 5 minutes with either thumb or palm. If suppose anyone has got hurt by any ways, so first thing you should do, if it is possible for you, immediately apply an antiseptic pad. Okay, if it is also not available at that particular moment, if you can use your either thumb if the injury is very small, and if injury is very big, you should take your palm and press, so the excess blood is not coming out of the person's body. Then if unfortunately you notice that there is a bone fracture or vertebral fracture, so first of all, if any part you think that person is saying my hand is paining, or I am not able to get up, or my leg is not, I am not able to move my leg, so considering the person's reaction, you have to think cautiously that you should first, whatever part is moving, don't allow that person to move that part. If the person is saying my hand is paining and it's paining very drastically, so just tell him you don't move your hand now, because you should not say this thing to the person that you may have got fracture. You should say, okay, if it is not moving for to this moment, just wait it, let it give some time. Then what can be done? Second thing, if you want, you for support, you can apply wooden rods, okay, rulers, so the person will not be having that much difficulty in movement. Okay, and if the person is, you think that back or vertebral column is affected, then the person should be kept on a firm stretcher. Stretchers you are very well aware, you see in the hospitals also. So if the bones and fractures are there, then this type of first aid should be taken. And if the burns are there, unfortunately if you see any person burning, what you should do, whatever the burn part is there, you should keep the part under clean and cold water for at least 10 minutes. Okay, if you keep that burn part, unfortunately you see many times some others also get little bit small burns in the kitchen. That time what you should go for, you should go for a clean and cold water 10 minutes continuously, so the injuries can be reduced. So children, this were about certain basic principles about the first aid techniques. Again we are having more techniques that we will be looking in the upcoming videos. Okay, now there are some other type of injuries for which we have to study now how to get cured of that injury. Certain injuries are, sprains, twisting. Okay, so in this situation you can go for rice remedy. Now what is rice remedy? Okay, So rice remedy includes rest. First, allow the victim to sit and relax in a relaxed position. Second, apply an ice pack to the injured part. Next, compress. Okay, after ice pack treatment, immediately you should gently massage the injured part. And elevate means, if after applying massage, after putting ice pack, just massage it and then elevate. Suppose if anyone's you think that hand is having certain injury, so say that person to lift the hand little bit or little bit raised, so the person will be having less amount of damage. If it is any type of, suppose you can say bleeding is going, if too much bleeding is going, or if sprain is there, so that little bit effect will be reduced. Then the next important, these are the different methods, children. If we see that any person has got an injury and not able to move, so there are different methods to carry such people, you know. First is the cradle method. Cradle method is used mostly for the small children or the people whose weight is very less. Okay, then the next is the carrying piggyback. So it is piggyback method is for the patients who are unconscious, those who are not able to walk also properly and they are not able to understand what is happening. So that is this carrying piggyback is for those people. Then we are having human crutch method. In human crutch method, if one leg of the victim is injured, so another person can give the support with the minimum load, okay, on the leg, and the victim can be moved. Then pulling or lifting method. This method is used for carrying unconscious patient through a long distance. If you want to take unconscious patient to a long distance, then you have to go for either pulling or lifting method. Then carrying on 4-hand chair. Okay, so this is useful when support is needed for the part below waist. Suppose if any person has got unfortunately met an injury and the lower back part is not able to show any movement, so this time you have to go for the method of carrying on 4-hand chair. Then next is the carrying on 2-hand chair. Carrying on 2-hand chair is useful for the patient who cannot lift their body upright. Means the person who is not able to stand also, cannot lift their body also. In such situation, you have to go for a carrying on 2-hand chair. Then next is these are the certain methods in the diagram shown by the methods which the people of the fire brigade they adopt. Then the stretcher is there. If in case of emergency, if stretcher is not available, the temporary stretcher can be made using bamboos and blankets. So this is going to help the people who are not having immediately any stretcher. So using these things, they can take the patient from one place to another. Then children, we are having other emergency measures. So what are the emergency measures? Suppose if the area is totally flooded, then boats are used by the civil administration to rescue the trapped people in the flooded area. As an emergency measure, wooden boats, bamboo floats, air-filled rubber tube and tire can be used to advantage. So this we have mostly seen in the televisions also, when there is continuously water in the flooded area. So most of these boats and even air-filled rubber tube tire people are using to rescue the people who are trapped into the flooded area. Okay children, so here we have gone to the end of your lesson. Now notes I will be sending you into the group in the form of PDF. Kindly write it in your Science 2 notebook. Okay, read the lesson twice, thrice and go through the videos so your concepts will be more clear from time to time.